While the West was embroiled in conflicts over faith and power, the Tang dynasty in China fostered a unique harmony among religions like Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. Citizens were free to follow their beliefs, leading to the construction of numerous temples and pagodas throughout the empire. The Tang period also marked the golden age of Chinese poetry, with poets like Li Bai and Du Fu creating works that became the foundation of Chinese literature. Li Bai's Zazen on the Qingjing Mountain, translated by Sam Hamill, captures the serene essence of Tang poetry. The birds have vanished down the sky, now the last cloud drains away. We sit together, the mountain and me, until only the mountain remains. Charlemagne, also known as Charles the Great, became the king of the Franks in 768 CE. A brilliant military strategist, Charlemagne significantly expanded the Frankish Empire, conquering vast regions of Western Europe, including modern-day France, Germany, Italy, and parts of Spain. Alongside his military achievements, Charlemagne was a devout Christian who worked tirelessly to spread Christianity throughout his domains. Meanwhile, in 785 CE, Harun al-Rashid was declared Caliph of the Abbasid Caliphate. Unlike many of his predecessors, Harun prioritized intellectual and scientific advancement over territorial expansion. In the capital city of Baghdad, he founded the House of Wisdom, a renowned library and research center that attracted scholars from across the world. These scholars translated classical works and advanced knowledge in fields such as algebra, chemistry, sociology, and even the concept of infinity. During the same period, the Vikings from Scandinavia were beginning to make their mark on Europe. Unlike the Abbasids, their focus was on material wealth rather than intellectual pursuits. On June 8, 793 CE, the Viking Age began with a brutal raid on Lindisfarne, a small island off the northeast coast of England. This monastery, a significant center of religious and cultural learning in Europe, was attacked by Viking warriors, likely from Norway or Denmark. The Vikings looted the monastery, killed many monks, and enslaved others, sending shockwaves across Europe. In 799 CE, Pope Leo III faced a crisis when a Roman faction accused him of tyranny and serious misconduct. Attacked and ousted from his position, Pope Leo sought refuge in the Frankish kingdom. Charlemagne, with his Frankish army, escorted the Pope back to Rome and reinstated him. However, the power of the papacy was under scrutiny, with growing opposition. In late 800 CE, Charlemagne traveled to Rome to support Pope Leo III. As a reward for his loyalty, on Christmas Day, during a ceremony in the Basilica of St. Peter, the Pope crowned Charlemagne as the Holy Roman Emperor, marking the foundation of the Holy Roman Empire. Under Charlemagne, the empire laid strong foundations, but his death in 814 CE left it vulnerable. His son, Louis the Pious, 778 to 840 CE, inherited an empire fraught with challenges. Despite being seen as a devout Catholic and well-meaning, Louis was perceived as weak, unable to address external threats, particularly Viking raids. The Vikings continued their assaults along the Rhine River, attacking key Holy Roman Empire cities such as Cologne, Trier, and Mainz. Their raids on Catholic monasteries and the destruction of religious artifacts sowed fear and anger among the populace. Disillusioned with the central government's inability to protect them, local leaders began focusing on defending their territories. This marked the beginnings of a decentralized feudal system, similar to the one previously developed in China. Under this system, peasants willingly worked on the lands of local lords in exchange for protection from Viking raids, giving rise to a new form of feudalism. While the Holy Roman Empire struggled with Viking invasions, the Byzantine Empire faced its own challenges. In 820 CE, Arab raiders landed on the island of Crete. Over the next several years, the Arabs gradually took control of the island, overcoming Byzantine resistance. By 827 CE, the conquest was complete, and Crete became part of the Arab Empire. Sicily and Sardinia followed a similar trajectory as Crete. In 827 CE, a large Arab fleet landed on Sicily, and Arab forces swiftly gained control of much of the island. By 828 CE, they moved on to Sardinia, which also succumbed to Arab invaders. Around the same time in the Holy Roman Empire, the death of Louis the Pious in 840 CE marked the disintegration of Charlemagne's once great empire. Infighting among his descendants led to the famous Treaty of Verdun, which divided the empire among three heirs. Under the Treaty of Verdun, the western portion, known as the West Frankish Kingdom, modern-day France, was given to Charlemagne's grandson, Charles the Bald. The eastern portion, or East Frankish Kingdom, modern-day Germany, was awarded to another grandson, Louis the German. The central portion, known as the Middle Kingdom, was granted to Charlemagne's eldest son, Lothair. However, sandwiched between the West and East Frankish kingdoms, the Middle Kingdom was geopolitically unstable and quickly faded into irrelevance. Meanwhile, Viking raids continued to devastate mainland Europe and extended their reach to England. In 871 CE, Alfred the Great ascended to the throne of Wessex with a mission to protect his people. Alfred constructed a network of fortifications called burhs, designed to shield his subjects from Viking invasions. He also developed innovative military strategies and fostered alliances with other Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. While Vikings posed a threat to Britain, they were welcomed in Russia. According to Russian legend, the tribes of the region, weary of political strife, invited the Varangians, a group of Vikings, to restore order and establish governance. Rurik and his brothers accepted this invitation and established control over the city of Novgorod. Through the Vikings' renowned strength, Rurik was declared king, founding the Kievan Rus dynasty. Under Oleg, one of Rurik's kinsmen, the Kievan Rus expanded by establishing Smolensk and Kiev, in modern-day Ukraine, laying the foundation for present-day Russia. Back in England, Alfred the Great's grandson, Aethelstan, expanded the network of alliances. Declared King of Wessex, Aethelstan united all Anglo-Saxon kingdoms to fend off Viking invasions in the British Isles. His ability to form coalitions and ensure collective safety earned him recognition as the first King of England, establishing one of the longest-lasting monarchies in history. The East Frankish Kingdom faced a similar threat from the pagan Magyars, who launched widespread attacks across the region. However, in 955 CE, King Otto I of the East Frankish Empire defeated the Magyars at the Battle of Lechfeld, securing peace in the region. Otto later conquered the kingdoms of Italy, restoring Christianity among the former pagans. In 962 CE, Otto was crowned Holy Roman Emperor by Pope John XII in Rome. In contrast, the West Frankish Kingdom struggled with succession issues. In 987 CE, King Louis V, a direct descendant of Charlemagne, died at the age of 20 without an heir. This plunged the French monarchy into uncertainty. The French aristocracy held an election, ultimately selecting Hugh Capet, a noble with extensive lands in central France, over Charles, Duke of Lower Lorraine. With the support of Archbishop Adalberon of Reims, Hugh Capet became the first king of France, founding the Capetian dynasty. During this turbulent time, fear was a constant for the average European. Societies became increasingly militarized, and civilizations fought over land and power. This led to the entrenchment of feudalism as a dominant social structure. At the bottom of this hierarchy were serfs, who worked the land to provide food for the population. Above them were knights tasked with protecting the people. At the top were nobles who governed and maintained control over the territories. Feudalism in medieval Europe established a rigid hierarchy. At the base were the serfs, who worked the land and ensured food production. Above them were knights tasked with protecting the population. Nobles who governed specific territories came next, owning vast lands granted to them by kings. Kings, in turn, distributed land to secure loyalty and governance. Yet at the very top of this pyramid was the Pope, regarded as the spiritual leader who communicated directly with God and held divine ownership of all lands. In the early 11th century, Leif Erikson embarked on a voyage west of Greenland, ultimately reaching the Americas. Leif and his crew explored a region they called Vinland, located in modern-day Newfoundland, Canada. During the winter, they established a small settlement and engaged in trade with the indigenous peoples, discovering the area to be rich in resources such as timber, fish, and game. Upon returning to Greenland in the spring, they were celebrated as heroes for uncovering new lands. Unbeknownst to Leif, he had become the first known European to set foot on a new continent. While less is known about the Americas during this period, historians speculate that similar expansions and developments occurred across the continent. The Mayans in Central America built grand cities such as Tikal and Chichen Itza, boasting populations between 2 and 10 million. In North America, tribes such as the Cherokee, Navajo, and Inuits thrived, with the latter likely interacting with Leif's expedition. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a site believed by Christians to be where Jesus was crucified and resurrected, was destroyed in 1009 CE by Arab Caliph al-Hakim's orders. The complete annihilation of sacred Christian sites horrified Europe. Pope Sergius IV called for a holy struggle to reclaim the region from Muslim control. However, before European intervention, Jerusalem saw a change in Muslim rule. The Seljuk Turks, a Central Asian Turkic Muslim group, began expanding their empire. By 1055 CE, they had captured Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. While initially respecting the Caliph, the Seljuks gradually asserted dominance, expanding their control to include Medina in 1076 and Mecca in 1077, the holiest sites in Islam. The fragmentation of the Muslim world set the stage for Pope Urban II's call to arms at the Council of Clermont in 1095. The Pope urged Christians to take up the cause of liberating the Holy Land, promising spiritual rewards and forgiveness of sins to those who joined. Inspired by this call, knights, nobles, and even peasants from across Europe rallied to the cause. Leaders like Godfrey of Bouillon, Bohemond of Taranto, and Robert of Flanders led their armies toward Jerusalem. Despite internal divisions, the Crusaders achieved initial successes. In 1098, they captured the county of Edessa, followed by the Holy City of Jerusalem in 1099. However, the Crusades were far from over. In 1144, the Muslim commander Imad ad-Din Zengi launched a siege on Edessa. The poorly defended city fell within weeks, with much of its population killed or enslaved. Determined to reclaim Edessa, European forces launched the Second Crusade in 1147. Despite their zeal, the Crusaders faced logistical challenges, including food shortages, infighting, and political rivalries. These issues severely hampered their campaign, ultimately leading to its failure. Following the disastrous loss at the Battle of Inab in 1149, where much of the Crusader army was decimated, including the capture of King Louis II, the Crusader efforts were severely weakened. Meanwhile, in Southeast Asia, the Khmer Empire under King Suryavarman II constructed a remarkable Hindu temple dedicated to Vishnu called Angkor Wat. Vishnu, an essential deity in Hinduism, symbolizes preservation and protection of the universe, often depicted with blue skin and holding 4 symbolic objects. Visitors approaching Angkor Wat encounter a grand moat and an intricately carved entrance gate, showcasing mythological creatures and deities. The main temple itself rises majestically, resembling a mountain adorned with detailed carvings and reliefs depicting Hindu mythology, battles, and daily life in the Khmer Empire. At its center is the central sanctuary, a pyramid-like structure surrounded by smaller temples and courtyards. This sanctuary, the most sacred part of the complex, features exquisitely carved statues of Hindu gods and goddesses, demonstrating the architectural and artistic brilliance of its creators. However, in 1187, Saladin, the Muslim commander from Egypt, grew determined to end Christian rule over Jerusalem. Declaring a holy war, he rallied the Muslim world to reconquer the city. The decisive battle occurred near the Sea of Galilee on an oppressively hot day. Saladin's forces, numbering 20,000, faced around 12,000 crusaders, including knights and civilians, under the leadership of King Guy. Despite their valiant efforts, the Crusaders struggled against the heat, thirst, and Saladin's superior cavalry tactics. Saladin's forces encircled the Crusaders, who were unable to break through the Muslim lines. As exhaustion and dehydration set in, the Crusader lines collapsed, and the majority of their forces were destroyed. Although King Guy and a small group of knights managed to escape, the defeat was a significant blow to Christian forces and led to Saladin's eventual conquest of Jerusalem. Refusing to accept defeat, the Christians launched another crusade, the Third Crusade, led by the era's most powerful monarchs, Emperor Frederick IV of the Holy Roman Empire, King Richard I of England, and King Philip II of France. Despite their combined might, they failed to recapture Jerusalem from Saladin, marking the Third Crusade as an unsuccessful endeavor.